Rebuilding starts with worship. Ezra 3 verses 1, 4-6, and 9-11. Ezra 3 verses 1, 4-6, and 9-11 gives us a powerful and emotional picture of what it looks like to rebuild after a season of loss, disappointment, or destruction. When the Israelites returned from exile, the very first thing they did was gather, as one in Jerusalem. Imagine that moment. Families who had been scattered for decades, people who had grown up in a foreign land, all standing together on the same soil for the first time in years. Their homes weren't rebuilt. The city was still in ruins. The temple, the center of their worship, was nothing but a memory. Yet before they rebuilt walls, before they erected houses, before they focused on their own needs, they rebuilt unity. This teaches us that God often begins restoration not by changing our situation, but by changing our relationships. Unity attracts God's presence. Division delays God's work. And if we want God to rebuild something in our lives, whether it's a marriage, a ministry, or a personal calling, one of the first steps is to restore unity, release bitterness, and reconnect with God's people. Next, Israel demonstrates that rebuilding continues with obedience. In verses 4-6, the people begin offering sacrifices and celebrating the Feast of Tabernacles exactly as God had commanded generations earlier. This is remarkable because the temple wasn't even standing yet. They had no building, no altar, but a newly constructed one, no finished structure. Yet they refused to wait for perfect conditions before obeying God. They worshipped in the ruins. They sacrificed amid the rubble. They honored God even when nothing around them looked complete. Many people say, "I'll be faithful when life stabilizes. I'll worship when things are better. I'll serve God when I feel stronger." But real faith doesn't wait for ideal circumstances. Real faith obeys God right now, in the middle of uncertainty. Ezra 3 teaches us that spiritual rebuilding begins long before physical rebuilding. God is not waiting for your life to be finished. He's looking for obedience right where you stand. We also see in verse 9 that rebuilding requires people stepping into their God-given roles. The Levites took their positions to supervise the work, and they did so intentionally and joyfully. This means that every person had a part to play, and no one could rebuild the temple alone. In the same way, when God is restoring something in our lives or in our community, He calls us to step into alignment with His will. Some of us are waiting for breakthrough, but God is waiting for participation. He's waiting for us to step into our calling, commit to our spiritual responsibilities, and take ownership of what He has entrusted to us. Rebuilding is not passive, it's active. It requires willingness, involvement, and faithfulness. Finally, Ezra 3 shows us that rebuilding is always marked by praise. When the foundation of the temple was finally laid, the people didn't wait for the walls, the roof, the furniture, or the glory to return. They didn't wait for the project to be complete. They lifted their voices immediately and sang, "He is good. His mercy endures forever." They praised God for a foundation. They rejoiced over a beginning. This is so different from how many of us respond to God's work. We often want the final result before we worship. We want the full miracle before we shout. We want the complete breakthrough before we give thanks. But Israel shows us that even the first sign of progress is worth celebrating. Sometimes the loudest praise should rise when God has only just started something, because the beginning is a promise of what He is going to complete. Altogether, Ezra 3 gives us a clear and powerful pattern for rebuilding: unity, obedience, calling, and praise. And as we walk this path, we echo the same truth Israel proclaimed thousands of years ago: God is good, and His mercy endures forever. Whatever you're rebuilding today, your faith, your family, your finances, your emotional life, your identity, remember this: God specializes in new beginnings. He restores what was broken. He revives what was lost. And when God rebuilds something, He does it with a beauty and strength greater than what was there before. So don't despise small beginnings, don't underestimate early progress, and don't forget to worship at the foundation, because the God who started the work is faithful to finish it.